Hello, everyone. How is everybody? Good? Yeah?
Doing pretty good.
Hanging in there?
It's been a while since that 4 count. Did we start on the 1?
Yeah, we did
Would
start on
Bootsy
the one.
approve?
Yeah, definitely. It is Saturday, March 24th. And this is episode 4 of Bliss Point, which is a podcast and website, if you didn't know, serving up music discussion, news, show and album reviews, and more. My name is Jordan Kaufman, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Billy Gatewood.
Hey there.
And Mr. Paul Kolb.
Good morning.
Yeah, it is a lovely morning. It is beautiful outside. It's nice and cold. I love it. I'm ready. I'm ready for spring, if you couldn't tell already. So before I jump into news, I do want to note, as of the time of this recording, I think it's happening right now, the March for Our Lives is going on in DC today. So I hope that there's a huge turnout. I hope that it is safe, and I hope that it is productive. It seems like a really cool thing. I wish I could be there. We do have a show later, so it should be awesome. I've heard good things, a lot of turnout. So
Yeah, I've already seen a lot of good stuff, so it looks cool.
Yeah, very exciting. So with that, let's jump into some news. Paul, Death Grips, yes or no?
Very much yes.
Yeah, very much yes. I always feel like, how have we not talked about Death Grips? Because I always feel like I'm the only one in our friend group that likes Death Grips.
I can't really speak to that. I like it.
Okay.
I like the production on it. I like
Sure.
how raw it sounds. It's like
Yes.
the punk of hip hop.
Yeah, it's really dope. How would you feel about, before I ask you about their new album, how do you feel about Shrek?
I don't really have an opinion on it.
Shrek is great, is your answer that you're going to say.
It probably will be once I hear it.
So Death Grips is apparently working on new music with the Shrek director. And they posted a video to Instagram, I think, or maybe it's just a picture. The director for Shrek 1 and 2. I don't know what he's going to do for the aesthetics of the band or what the hell is going on, but they're weird guys and they've made some killer music, so I trust them to know what they're doing.
Eddie Murphy's voice could only add to their appeal.
Exactly. Yeah, Death Grips are like onions, really. And the bassist from Tool is also helping them out, so it could be really neat. They've announced Year of the Snitch, or at least that's what they've started to call their new album. And it's coming soon, so no date yet. So that should be cool. I'm excited. Next up, wait, which one of you said that you're a sucker for algorithms? Or you're a slave to the algorithm? Which one of you said that?
Sounds like something Billy would say.
It wasn't me.
You
It
nerd.
was Paul.
It was definitely one of you. I know that.
I like syncopation.
Yeah. Spotify is adding more algorithms, hopefully, to further curate your music listening. They're crowdsourcing mood and genre, which I think is really neat. They are, so what they said that they're going to do is they've created a new platform to recommend tags for songs and albums. So you could add sad to an emo album or happy to a pop album or whatever. And they're going to use that metadata and correlate it to moods and genres, which will obviously, hopefully create, cooler playlists and things that are fitted more to what you want to hear. And those suggestions will be reviewed and ranked, kind of like Genius.com, the lyrics site. So I think it's really neat.
I think it's a super cool idea because a lot of times now you see the algorithms and like they're related to, and sometimes you're just like, how did this even get matched up?
Yeah.
Like, how is this even remotely close to what
Yes.
I'm listening to? Or how is it remotely close to this artist that it's supposedly related to?
But, I can't think of a way it would be done any better because...
Right. I mean, this is getting feedback from the people that are actually listening to that music.
Right.
So...
Because even just music critics, you'll read something and it's like, I don't think it sounds like... It doesn't sound anything like the band you brought up.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Spotify, I've heard more about Spotify than any other service with regards to they have like a new releases playlist or like a just for you playlist or something like that is like, hey, here's all the things that we know you listen to. Here's things that we think you might like. And they put it in a playlist every week.
Right.
And that's really neat.
It is, yeah.
So as someone who enjoys providing music recommendations and stuff like that, I think it's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I just find sometimes when you go through that list, like you might like 20% of
Yes.
that. You know?
Yeah.
And hopefully
I mean, it's a
this will-
crapshoot, right?
Yeah, but hopefully this will help kind of raise that percentage.
Yes.
Maybe like 50% of it.
Yeah,
It was
it'll be more
actually
accurate.
stuff. Yeah.
And then I won't have to talk to you about what you think about music.
Yeah, you could just cut me out of your life
Yeah.
entirely. Yeah, perfect.
Designed obsolescence.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about Mr. Kanye West? I know how my wife feels about Kanye West, but I want to know how you guys feel about Kanye West.
Dude, I love Kanye.
You do
I
love
feel like I
Kanye?
get judged so hard for
I
saying that.
really, it's kind of a problem.
It's absolutely, yes. It's
He's
like
got
a
too many
stigma.
haters. He's got too many haters. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's weird. The culture now, I feel like we used to really appreciate how eccentric our
Yes.
producers and our musicians were.
Mm-hmm.
And now it just seems like any little thing you can do to dig on them.
Yeah, and granted, he said some dumb shit, and he's done some dumb shit, but like, what rapper in that type of spotlight hasn't done something that dumb? You know, like, there's plenty of other worse ones out there that are not even close to being as talented as Kanye is.
That's the thing is like, how do you, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but how do you deny the talent?
Right.
I mean, the stuff he produces is incredible. Not just his rapping and whatever, but the stuff he produces is incredible in my opinion.
He's insane. He will go down as one of the best, I think. And now that I know that we're all on the same page regarding Mr. West, it is rumored that he has gone to Wyoming to hole up in Jackson Hole to work on his next record. And the only confirmation is that people have seen artists that he's been known to work with post pictures that have been tagged in Wyoming. Artists like Travis Scott, The Dream, Kid Cudi, and Nas all have been noted as being in Wyoming around the same time that Kanye is.
Okay.
But isn't Wyoming just a really cool place that, hip hop artists hang out all the time?
Yeah, that's where they all buy their mansions and live on Yellowstone.
There you go.
Yeah, probably. Hey, it could be possible. It certainly could be possible. But he famously worked on my beautiful dark twisted fantasy on a studio compound in Hawaii for a year. So this kind of lines up with his previous, recording practices. So new Kanye soon, maybe. We'll see. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like the radio. And I think iHeartRadio has contributed to a large portion of that feeling because they've had this gigantic monopoly on the radio station business. And when you have someone like that controlling the streams and who gets paid and stuff like that, you're obviously going to hear a lot of the same things. Yes. And I don't know that a different company would have made the same choices or different choices, but iHeartRadio files for bankruptcy. So it's going to be interesting if they actually do go out of business to see what happens to all of these radio stations.
Yeah, that was shocking to me. I couldn't. They have a monopoly over radio and streaming, and I couldn't even believe that they were remotely
You would
close to-
think that they would be making way more
Right,
money, or
exactly.
at least I thought they did.
Right.
But when you think about it, I don't know how they make money.
advertising, I guess, via streams.
Yeah, maybe because
Like
they do
via
have
the
their own
app?
music service.
Yeah, but they pay so much for their own advertising.
True.
That's
Yeah.
the most.
True.
That's the
Yeah.
biggest effect it'll have on my listening experiences is not hearing 500 iHeartRadio ads.
Yeah,
Every time
yeah.
in the
While you're
car.
listening to Spotify, hey, you should check out iHeartRadio. Do you like the radio? You should check it out. Please check it out. Please listen. We need help.
And I'm sure the
You know
radio
I like the
station-
radio.
But they own 850 stations in the U.S. right now. One of them being DC 101. And they also own a streaming service, and they do music awards. I don't fucking know why they do music awards. I still
No
don't understand
idea.
to this day.
No idea.
Like they're the glorified like MTV Music Awards,
Right.
and the only time I hear about them is when I'm listening to the radio and they're advertising for their own music
Yes.
award show. I don't know that anybody pays attention to that shit. It's kind of like going to like a pop music festival, which is cool if you're into that sort of stuff and you're like, I would love to go to the iHeart Music Awards. I can see Coldplay, Bruno Mars, fucking.
They
what's his
had
name?
Metallica
Ginger
nominated
Boy.
for the metal genre is like something that is relevant right now.
Right. Because there's no other metal band that's on the radio except for Metallica.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
yeah, it's gonna be weird if they go out of business.
Yeah, it will.
Business as usual for American businesses that file for bankruptcy. They'll continue operating. They're still $10 billion in debt. They reduced their debt by half, or they're restructuring their debt. So they still owe a shit ton of money. So
That's wild.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. This next one is interesting, and Billy and I talked about it quite a bit, and we all three of us talked about it before we started recording, because I think it's important to talk about. Pine Grove, pretty big indie band of the last couple of years,
sure.
really hot going into last year, and then out of nowhere, the singer Evan Stevens Hall, I think is his name, responded publicly to a private accusation of sexual coercion, and he also apologized for past behavior. Pretty gross stuff, talking about how he'd look into the crowd and see who wanted to sleep with him and actively pursue those people and sleep with them, and pretty gross stuff. He admitted to all of it on his own accord, canceled the band's tour, entered therapy, and put the band on hiatus. And I honestly assumed that we would never hear from them again.
I really did too.
I thought the band was dead in the water.
I did too.
And probably rightfully so, right? With that stuff that comes out, it's pretty gross, and but a frequent Pine Grove contributor, Nandy Rose Plunkett, who was in the band for quite a while, put some killer harmonies all over their debut album. She's fantastic. She's also in a band called Half Wave. She quit the band, I think, a year ago to focus on Half Wave. But she gave an interview recently and talked about Pine Grove, saying that their new album, which they had been working on pretty publicly, is still done and ready to be released. But the singer is still trying to reconcile everything privately so that all parties are comfortable with the band continuing to tour. Which, for what it's worth, I think is the best way to go about it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? I think it speaks volumes that she is okay with the situation, or maybe not okay, but she's more comfortable with the way they're handling it.
I was going to say the process that's taking place after the fact.
Right. They really seem like they want to go about this the right way. And everybody was pretty shocked. I mean, you still look at comments on the internet and people are like, why are you doing this? Like, what's going on? So I think it's an astonishing example of, what's the word I'm looking for? Shit. It's gone. But, yeah, it's interesting because I think that it will be. I think, Paul, you were saying that we're going to start seeing more and more of this, or maybe.
Oh, without a doubt.
Like,
you look at music as a medium.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw everything that happened with some of the stuff coming to light, or things people knew about Hollywood to begin with,
right.
People starting to shine more of a light on it.
Sure.
And people speaking out. Look at music, man. You think it's any less of a seedy kind of business?
Oh, absolutely.
And especially this particular practice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the old school rock star thing, right?
Yeah.
You walk out, you point to one, they come back, the groupie thing.
Right.
So we're going to see a lot more of this, and it'll be interesting to see how people handle it.
Yeah.
In this case, it seems like the guy is sorry. He's doing what he needs to kind of get better.
Right. Yeah, and it's
tough to talk about though, because that was one thing we were discussing, is how do you kind of talk about how this is being handled without seeming like an apologist for it.
Right, and I think it's going to be important in the future to open up a path to forgiveness to some of these people. I'm not saying all of them deserve it. Most of them probably don't. But to the ones that actually want to make good and do something different and change the way that the world works and are deeply apologetic and realize that they did something wrong, I think something needs to be changed in the way that we treat people like that, because you and I were talking about it yesterday, how, it's going to be very important to allow some of these people to come back into society. We can't exile people forever just because they did something wrong. So I don't know, but I don't have the answers.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
And I'm probably not, certified to speak on this sort of stuff, but I thought it was interesting. I think it needs to be talked about.
For sure.
It needs to be out there.
Yeah, and I'm sure like Paul said, we'll hear about it a lot more coming up, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more discussions about it.
Yes.
But it'll be an interesting time to see how these all play out.
Absolutely. And last up for news is Pitchfork Festival. The only reason I included this lineup is because it is like a who's who of like indie stardom.
Yeah, it really is.
It looks very good.
It's Friday alone looks nuts, and then I like started to read the rest of the weekend.
Right.
It's kind of insane. So Friday is headlined by Tame Impala and Courtney Barnett, and Big Thief's on there. Sid from Odd Future, Earl Sweatshirt, Julian Baker, Open Mike Eagle, Lucy Dacus. That's just Friday. Saturday is Fleet Foxes, War on Drugs, Blood Orange.
Dude,
like the list goes on.
Oh,
Yeah,
Raphael Sadiq.
and Raphael Sadiq. Yeah, it's kind of insane how, and they've had good lineups in the past, but nothing like back to back to back like this seems like.
Yeah.
And I think it's a true highlight of the festival season. I haven't really seen a lineup as good as this one yet.
Yeah.
I don't think Coachella looked good this year. I don't remember if they've announced their lineup yet. I think Bonnaroo just announced the other day, which looked okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who the... Actually, you know what actually looked kind of good was Firefly in Delaware.
Really?
I usually am not a huge fan of, and it's always way overpriced.
Yeah.
But this year, the lineup looks pretty sick.
Oh, cool.
Does it take place in July?
What's that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. They've usually been pretty mainstream in the past.
Exactly.
Like if you had like Imagine Dragons headline last year, and I was like,
my favorite.
It's a pretty good balance this year.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you exactly
Which is good.
who was on it, but
Yeah.
it looked pretty good.
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy to see festivals that are still good. I
don't
will
like
go to-
iHeartRadio
I'll go to-
festivals?
Shut up.
Imagine Dragons won a lot of awards. I'll
They
have
did.
you know.
They did. They killed that show. They have a ton of iHeart awardees. I don't know what they're called. They probably have a dumb name for them. But,
Wow, that's a lot of hostility.
yeah, sorry. It's really unwarranted. So let's jump into what we've been listening to, which is kind of an encapsulation of pretty much everything going on in music lately. Singles, new releases, show reviews. And we're going to start with some show reviews. So up first, I don't know do we want to go in chronological order?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm just
going
gonna
to
go.
a lot of shows.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you what happened chronologically.
We've been busy. So I'm going to start with the first one on the list. Moose Blood, Lydia, and McCafferty at 9:30 Club. And that was this past Sunday.
Yes, it
right?
was.
Okay.
Yep.
What'd you think?
Dude, I loved it.
You loved it?
I was so stoked for all three bands.
Okay.
Which I think I might have been the only one there stoked for all three bands. And a very interesting bill at the same time.
Yeah, it's a very weird lineup.
I feel like a lot of people were there for either Lydia or Moose Blood.
Yes.
But nobody was really there for both.
Yeah, it was one of those shows where you could definitely see the delineation of like, here's the Lydia fans that are like jamming out, and then they all left.
Yeah.
Or they
Or
like
just
went
moved to the back or
upstairs.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
And then the Moose Blood fans like kind of came in.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was definitely a weird dynamic for sure.
But such a good vibe for a Sunday night.
Yeah,
And
it was
for, like,
really
a not
chill.
sold out show. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a really cool vibe.
I was happy to not get pushed around a lot.
Yeah.
I think there was maybe a pit for like 5 seconds in Moose Blood.
Yeah, Moose Blood
But-
had a bit of a pit, but
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, I was stoked for McCafferty.
And they were really
They
good.
were so
I was really
good.
impressed.
Played a ton of new stuff because they have a new album that just came out. It hadn't even been released at the time of the show.
Okay.
But I would say half the set was new songs that I didn't even recognize because it was
okay.
a new album.
Sure.
But they were still so good.
Yeah.
Like they...
He sounded really good.
Right.
I was really impressed.
I love his voice live.
Yeah, if you've been listening, we listened to one of their newest singles last week, and vocals are very weird and very different. But yeah, he sounds really good live.
Yeah.
I was impressed. They were my favorite of the night.
Really?
I don't really like Lydia or Moose Blood.
Wow.
So I was probably the least excited for that show on Sunday.
Okay.
And I'm still not sure why I went. But my wife wanted to go see Lydia. She loves Lydia. And Lydia sounded really good.
His voice was so much more powerful
Yes.
than I would have ever expected live because
Yeah.
he's got this kind of soft recorded voice, but he replicates it live so
Yeah.
well and with so much like energy behind it.
Yeah, and they sounded really good.
They were
Yeah,
really
their new
good.
single is. I like their new single a lot.
Yeah, their new single's good.
and that sounded really good.
Mm-hmm.
Still don't like Moose Blood.
Thank you. I was waiting until we talk about your.
Okay, well,
your
We'll
new
get
release.
we get into that
We'll get
in
into
new
that more.
releases.
So
I feel really bad for them
they
though.
were Okay, so the lead singer had laryngitis.
Yeah,
and still came out and performed an entire
Ace
set.
still sounded really good.
When he's in the low octave, he sounded spot on.
Yeah.
He just couldn't get above.
Couldn't do
that,
the screaming
the
light screaming or whatever.
His voice would literally go out.
Yeah.
But the best part about the show is that album had been out for the new album had been out for like a week. And every single person that was there for Moose Blood knew every word to the new album.
Okay.
And you didn't even need
everybody
to,
vibed.
Like, everybody was singing along to the entire set. And that made it so much more fun almost because you could tell he was struggling and was like just so grateful that like people
and everybody was singing along and really loud. So it was a nice vibe for sure. So I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Kendo and Little Tybee at Jima Java. So I saw them 2 weeks ago before we saw Moose Blood. I saw them with my wife, and they were amazing. So Reign of Kendo, now Kendo, is this like progressive rock, jazz, art rock band that's kind of leaning more towards poppy, really catchy. They were incredible. They sounded really, really good. They were really, really tight. They have an amazing like piano player and like a conga player. And then they opened for a band called Little Tybee, which is a super small. I mean, the band itself is like 6 members, but pretty tiny following. They're like an acoustic alt country math rock band. They sounded incredible. Like the vocalist was really, really good. Their lead guitarist is like why people follow that band. He plays an 8-string Ibanez and is like a insane tapper. Like he taps all over the fretboard, plays a lot of really cool jazz chords. Very neat band. All of them were super sweet. We met them after the show. Very, very cool. There was maybe like 30, 40 people there. Super tiny, but it was a really awesome show. I had a lot of fun, and made me fall in love with both of those bands even more.
Nice.
I have to look into that.
Yeah, you should check them out. Kendo just had a new album come out. I actually bought it before they released it. I have the CD downstairs. I haven't listened to it yet. And I think Little Tybee may be working out stuff. They've been kind of weird. I wanted to buy a record that night, but they didn't have any. So yeah, we'll have to check them out at some point. Billy, you went to New York City recently?
Yeah. So
same weekend as Moose Blood, right?
Same weekend as Moose Blood. Yeah. I went up to Brooklyn and saw the Midnight. Who
did you go up for the show?
I 100% went up for the show.
Okay.
I would have went anywhere for that show.
Why do you hate sleep, Billy?
You know, who needs it, basically?
Yeah,
As I'm
pretty
sitting
much.
here trying to stretch out and wake back up. Dude, it was at Music Hall of Williamsburg. It was their 4th show of all time.
Really?
Yes. So they've been around for several years, but have only recently begun to really blow up.
Okay.
And
yeah,
it's
that
this
show was packed.
80s inspired electronica synthwave.
They had a dope saxophone solo.
With just so much. Every song has an amazing sax solo, and I've been wanting to see them live for so long. They had played some DJ sets here and there.
Sure.
Then they had 2 shows in California, I think in like San Francisco or something like that over the last year. Kind of like just feeling it out, getting to see know, who would actually come out to see them. And they decided to bring it to Chicago and then New York. Dude, I can't begin to tell you how good it was.
Really?
Now, I might also be the only person out of like everybody I know that likes the Midnight and likes that style of music.
Yeah.
But it was incredible.
I want to check them out. I mean, the snap that you sent me, I was like, I only heard the sax solo and I was like, this is fucking rad.
It's so good. The production is so good. It's this one dude that produces all the music, and then they have a vocalist who also plays a little guitar. So the producer comes out and he kind of starts it up and he plays like the real like electronic drums. So he's not just sitting there like, pressing play or anything like that. He's actually playing like the drums and stuff on a little, drum pad. And then the vocalist comes out and he's so good live, because on recordings he sounds incredible. And then I wasn't sure how it would sound live. Incredible. Then they bring out the live sax.
The fucking live sax.
Dude,
I
that
love it.
live sax could have...
He sounded really good.
He was so good. It was actually funny because we were standing in line and he was like... we didn't know who he was. But he was like trying to get in. And me and Danny are standing there like trying to get in.
Trouble getting in.
Yeah, and he's like, I got a badge. I don't know what door to go through. And we're like, oh, well, like...
No, I'm here to
and
see the show,
the
man.
guys trying to work the show are like, I don't know, just jump that gate and like go in that door. And then sure enough, he like comes out and he is the sax player. I was like, if only I knew.
Holy shit! Yeah,
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like people complain about the negative aspects of how music is distributed now,
Yeah.
but it kind of highlights one of the things I really like about music now, which is imagine the fact that there's a band like that could touch so many people, already has a little bit of a following, and they haven't played that many live shows.
Yeah.
It's really antithetical to the traditional, the Doors spent this many years being a house band at some bar.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
And it's sold out.
like you got to pay your dues. Like you don't have to do that anymore.
No,
Like
if you just have good ideas.
Yeah, it's kind of rad.
It
I
was
like
so
it.
good.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I have to check them out. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong. The 30 seconds that I heard sounded very similar to M83, but I don't know if that's...
You can definitely get some M83 vibes.
Okay.
It's way more 80s sounding than M83.
Okay. Cool. I don't really like M83, so I'm in all for that.
But yeah, like as you can say, just from like the synth and the sax and stuff like that. I mean, you could get that vibe. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Check it out.
Yeah.
When people say 80s synth, it can go.
Check out their new EP, Nocturnal.
Okay.
Is really good.
Okay. Will do. Last up on this gauntlet, Billy and I saw. Get a deep breath in. We saw Knuckle Puck, Boston Manor, Free Throw, Hot Mulligan, and Jetty Bones at Union Stage last night. Full disclosure, one of my close friends from high school, was working monitors, and he did sound briefly last night. With that out of the way, regardless of whether or not he was working last night, everybody sounded really good. Everybody sounded great.
But congrats
Collusion.
to him. Yes. Congrats to him.
Yes.
That's huge. I mean, he designed the sound for that venue. That's incredible.
He was given free reign to do whatever, and they fucking nailed it. That place is awesome. I was a little nervous because of how small it was purported to be, but...
We talking Mr. Ferguson?
Mr. Ferguson.
Sure.
Billy Ferguson. Yeah.
Man knows his business.
Yeah, it's good shit. Starting up with Jetty Bones, I'm not super familiar with any of the bands on the list.
Hadn't listened to them.
They, for me, kind of stole the show. I
good.
was so impressed with how good they were. Super tight. Guitarist was really, really good.
The
vocalist had
harmonies.
some pipes.
Oh, the harmonies between the vocalist and the bassist.
Yeah.
So incredible.
And the lead vocalist had just a swagger to her. Like dancing around, having a really good time. They were really funny. Just having a lot of fun. Like everything you want in an opener. Like you don't want this like brooding, like, bullshit opener. Like they knew they were openers, but they really owned it.
They sure did.
They were totally into it. Crowd kind of opened up for Hot Mulligan. They were really good.
They were way better than... I mean, I love them. They were way better than I thought.
I didn't really like the recordings that I had heard. The physical album recordings.
Yeah, sure.
But they sounded really good live.
Yeah, you can tell because the Opportunities album. I guess their older album now. It sounds very DIY, like kind of like not great quality.
Super
production.
li-fi. Yeah, lo-fi.
But live you can tell that they're really good.
Yes. Yeah.
And they put out a new album the day of the show, which was cool. And they played a lot of new stuff off of that.
Yeah, it was rad. My winner for last night, fucking loved them. Free Throw.
So good.
They had so much energy.
Dude.
This is really dumb, and I may just be saying this because they all have long hair. They kind of remind me of Coheed a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay. It's not just
like
me.
a Claudio vibe.
Yes, and they do have like a lot of like dueling lead guitars and stuff like that, and they do some tapping and stuff. So they're really, really good. I like them a lot. Not a fan of Boston Manor. I feel like I was the only one in the crowd that didn't like that band.
You and Dean.
They're okay. They're very good at their aesthetic, but I don't like that aesthetic.
God, it was so good. It's more punkish.
Yeah,
than
like
the other bands on the bill, but
I don't know that drum beat that they do the
little, like punk blast beat.
I know it's the fucking punk blast beat. Like Travis Barker does it, and like every Blink 182 song. It's just that's not my thing.
Yeah.
They sounded good.
I love them.
In any case. And everybody lost their goddamn minds for Knuckle Puck.
Dude, right?
They were really good.
Yeah.
They sounded really good. Both vocalists sounded awesome. And that show flew. Like,
dude,
everybody. I was nervous about having 5 bands 5 bands.
5 bands.
But they moved it so quick
Yeah.
that
And
it just worked.
Started at 6:30 on a Friday.
Yeah.
That's so early.
Yeah, it was super
But we were
early.
still out of there by 11.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah.
I loved it. So I had a great time, and I wasn't even familiar with any of those bands going into it.
Dude,
So
I'm glad.
I had a blast. It was really good.
Knuckle Puck, great band to see if you have children.
Yeah, exactly. That's the stamp of approval that I'm giving it. Let's get into singles. So these are singles, may or may not be attached to an album, stuff that we loved going into this week, or maybe not loved, who knows. This first single, I wanted to keep it on here because the story behind it is fucking hilarious. So it's Vince Staples' Get Off My Fucking Dick. Song itself is pretty basic. Pretty basic trap production. He's got some good bars on it. Nothing super special. But he started an Indiegogo campaign to fund his retirement. So he put out this video addressing his haters, being like, literally put up or shut up. Like, give me money. I will go away forever. You'll never hear from me ever again. And he only got like $2,000. It was briefly taken down and then put back up. But he canceled the campaign and then ended up donating the money to the Michelle Obama Library of North Long Beach in California. So I thought that was funny, in a funny way to wrap up the whole saga.
Seems appropriate, right?
Yeah, it was really funny. And I fucking love him. I hope he never goes away. He's great.
It's like a very Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd way to make a point.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, oh, he almost tricked him.
Yeah, and it highlights just how funny he is.
But yeah, the story is much more interesting than the actual track.
That's the unfortunate thing, for sure. So, what do you think of this new Parquet Courts track?
I thought it was fun.
You liked it?
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, the video was really fun. I realized as we listened to almost the whole, it's pretty short. It's like 2.5 minutes. It's kind of the same thing for 2.5 minutes.
It is. It doesn't change at all.
But I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
Production by Danger Mouse. So if
Which
you're not
makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like that's the first thing that stands out.
really
And,
cleaning it up and making it super pop focused,
Yep.
which I think for them could be really good. They've been kind of teetering on a big break. They've had a lot of like indie stardom. They've had 3 or 4 albums come out, and they've all been really good. I've liked them a lot, like indie, garage rock, post punk a little bit. And this song is super catchy. Really, it's got a nice sheen to it. I like it a lot. Their new album, Wide Awake. The song is called Wide Awake. New album is Wide Awake, and it's out May 18th. Claro, what are we thinking of the new face of weird dream teen pop?
What do
It's expressionless.
flaming hot
It
Cheetos
is.
have to do with anything?
I have no idea. There's dancing flaming hot Cheetos in the
A
video.
big
Yeah,
old
it's-
bag of it. Just
Yeah.
floating around.
Yeah.
A lot of self-control, keeping a straight face, delivering those lyrics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird video. But Claro
It's
is
pretty good.
blowing up.
Yeah.
I like the song quite a bit.
Yeah, me too.
It's pretty bare bones, and her vocals aren't the most inspired, but I think she did that on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
If she tried harder, it wouldn't be cool.
Both ironically and
Wouldn't
very
work.
true. Yeah. Good song, cute production. It's neat. You should check it out. New Courtney Barnett single. Every single that I've heard from this album has consistently impressed me. The single's called Need a Little Time. Paul, what do you think?
See, I agree with you, and that's my problem with anytime we talk about Courtney Barnett, because I always really enjoy it, but
Yeah.
there's nothing really for me to point out.
Yeah.
If you listen to a Courtney Barnett album, you listen to 3 tracks and you like them all, you'll
Yeah.
probably like everything she does.
Yes.
It's very consistent.
Yeah, and I think that this album is going to be her most dynamic album yet, because sometimes I sit and listen. Her most recent album was very good, but all kind of samey, and she did kind of the whole like talk singing that she does. But this actually had some harmony to it, and she actually opens up her pipes a little bit and sings on the chorus, which I thought was really interesting. So I'm super pumped for her new album. It's called Tell Me How You Really Feel, and it's also out May 18th. What do you guys think of Sirius Klein? Yes, no, maybe?
It was all right.
It was all right.
It was all right. It was pretty good, actually. I will give you. It was pretty good.
I like it.
Yeah.
I thought the beat was really, really good.
Yeah.
I was trying to surmise what he did this promotional campaign with a company called Colors, and it seems like it's just they put artists in a cool colored room and they do their tracks.
The video was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really
being
neat.
so simple,
Like
it was
the
kind of
lighting
cool.
was perfect.
Yeah.
He's in like this all red kind of getup, and then the background is like teal, and then there's a single mic from the ceiling with the world's tiniest pop filter.
It is.
really
It's noticeably tiny.
Yeah, it's kind of
couldn't think
adorable.
of anything else.
But dude just spits some bars, and production's great. Pretty standard like trap track, but I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
No album as of yet. I did a little research, so that could be wrong. I think he's just been kind of releasing singles recently, so
Cool.
I just found out about him this week. So last up, someone I'm super pumped for. I think she's going to be the next big thing. For all you Julian Baker lovers out there, I think Snail Mail's here to take your crown.
Yes.
She's here to take it. She's here to
Yes.
take it from you. Because Snail Mail, Pristine, I think is a way more interesting Julian Baker track.
Oh, it was so good.
She's got some fire on the vocals. Like I think she's actually starting to come into being this star that
Yeah.
she needs to be.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely a step up production wise from her first EP. I forgot to write down the name of that EP, but it's really good. You should check it out. I think she's going to be the next big thing.
Dude, she's 17 and she's already figured out the whole
Yes.
songwriting thing.
Yes,
I mean,
she's a beast. The song is called Pristine, and it's off of her new album Lush, out on June 8th.
and she's local.
She is. Yes, she's from Ellicott City, Maryland.
That's awesome.
Well, maybe not anymore, but she grew up there.
Still,
So
we'll take it.
yeah, I'll take anybody in the 50-mile radius.
Exactly.
There's a lot of musicians from this area.
Yeah,
You
that's
always
true.
talk like it's so surprising.
It is.
Well, because the ones that I remember recently that are good are like Car Seat Headrest. You could say the Foo Fighters are from here, kind of.
Kind of.
They're okay.
One of 'em.
Yeah, one of them anyway. The important
He was
one.
fighting foos back in the day.
Yeah. So yeah, Snail Mail. Check it out. It's really, really good. And now that we're done with singles, let's get into some new releases. So these are full albums that we listened to, thought you might want to check them out. Except for Billy's album, which both of us didn't like. So Billy, let's fucking do it. Take us to court, buddy. Let's do it.
All right,
Make me understand, Billy.
You know, if you don't understand, I just don't know what to say. My album's Moose Blood.
You're just
I
wrong.
don't think I can do this anymore. Which, when I texted
Yeah, we
Jordan,
should.
I don't think I can do this anymore. He literally thought I was quitting the podcast.
Yeah, I thought you were quitting. I got really nervous. I was really upset.
That's really
it's kind of
upset.
a bad album title. Like I get why they did it, but like every time you say it like out of context,
Yeah.
like every time you've said it, I always think that you're trying to respond to me or respond to something else.
It's an emo
Like what the
band.
hell are you
Just
talking
your
about?
your
No, I
favorite
get
band
that.
let you down, and you're very
I'm
upset.
not hating on their choices.
No,
I'm just saying that it's a weird album.
Dude, it's a good album. It's so. If you're familiar with Moose Blood, this album is a little bit more polished, a little bit more poppy than
Sure.
their older stuff. When I first listened to it, I will say because I was expecting a sound like their old sound.
Right.
I was
And what do you mean by
disappointed.
their old sound?
old
Wait, a little
sounds
more lo-fi?
a little bit maybe darker.
Okay.
A little not darker, but a little. It flowed between soft and hard parts, and his vocals were a little bit more dynamic.
Okay.
But like.
So we found out during the show that he is married.
Yes.
Do you think that him being married contributed to the sunshinier feel on this album?
No, they
No.
got a new record label, and they wanted to make a lot of money
Okay.
and be more popular.
I can
and
hear
that's
it.
what it is.
How
I
dare
can hear
these
it.
men
What
want to
it is.
make a living at
Yeah,
music?
that's exactly what it is.
Sorry, continue.
But so, after listening to it a few times, it is incredible. It really grew on me. Each track started to stand out more. Like I said, I was also one of the people that knew every word to every song.
Right.
By the time of the show, a week later, it's so good. Like especially now that the weather's changing, these spring days.
I
and
can see the vibe.
sun's out, and like
I
now
can
that
feel
I know
it.
what to expect from it,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Why
Paul-
don't you guys like it?
Paul, I want to hear what you thought, because I know he and I have talked about Moose Blood before. I want to hear what you thought about Moose Blood.
What's funny is when he showed us that single a while back, I did enjoy that.
Yeah.
But with this, I don't have as much of a frame of reference because I didn't know about them prior.
Right.
I think what I didn't like was more the lyricism. It's just
Really?
very predictable to me and like very indicative of that genre, which admittedly is not something I listen to a ton.
Sure.
But I think maybe what I was hearing is just what you were talking about, them getting a little more marketable, a little more poppy.
Yeah,
which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just there's nothing about it that stood out as interesting to me, even though everything was clearly very solid.
Right.
Like really beautiful vocals, really good guitar sounds.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super. I will never knock the production on this album because it's super, super clean. And I think it's funny that you brought up that the lyrics bored you because I guess I shouldn't put words in your mouth. They didn't bore you, but they were just predictable.
To me, yeah.
And I'm more than willing to give a pass to these types of bands because I know that all of their lyrics are very similar in terms of content. And that means for me, everything else needs to be better. Everything or different or something else needs to catch my attention.
Yes.
Like, for example, Knuckle Puck. I think very similar types of bands.
Yes.
They're like a little more aggressive with their like guitar attack, but I love their dual vocal harmonies. Their harmonies are great. They're super catchy. I didn't find myself getting hooked by anything on this Moose Blood album.
And so I will say this. How I often describe Moose Blood to people is that it's very simple music.
Yes.
It's not going to be the best guitar work you've ever heard. It's not going to be the best vocals you've ever heard. But the songwriting to me is the simplicity. Simplicity is where the beauty is in it because it's still so good and still sounds so much like their own sound.
No, I believe it.
So yeah, you're not gonna hear crazy guitar work or anything like that. Even though the drummer at the show was incredible,
he was really tight.
Yeah,
like he's a beast. Yeah, for sure.
But I will say that if you're really going in to listen to a band for the instrumentation and the technicality of it, like Moose Blood might not be your thing.
But which is like the number one thing on my list was like the guitars on this album could not be more boring to me. Like
Yikes.
that's the main reason I didn't like it.
Okay.
Like I totally agree with you. If you are looking for something a little simpler, like I don't want to say it's akin to Blink-182, but like something like that where it's not like you're more focused on the feeling of it and the vibe of it than you are with like, you know, interesting instrumentation. Like
and it's very sing-alongy.
Yes. I mean, definitely. I can totally see that. And it pains me to say all these things because they seem like such sweet people. Like they seem like such nice guys. So more power to them. I hope they get, you know, more and more money. Because I would love to see them do well. I just don't like them.
Sure.
So Paul, let's talk about Bishop Naru.
Yeah. So this is something I wasn't as familiar with in the past, but since it's produced by MF Doom, I just had to look at it.
Yes.
Bishop Naru himself, young rapper. I think by the age of 17, publications were already saying, "Oh, he's the future of rap," which we've never heard before. But
which is always a good sign for someone's career, right?
And so
tanks.
Exactly. But I really like this. There were some things holding it back from being album of the week for me. Specifically, I didn't really like some of the hooks and the choruses. I felt like when he was singing them himself, it just didn't work the best.
Completely agree.
In some cases, like I think Driftin', songs like that, it works.
Driftin'.
Yeah, it works really well. It's kind of that old school. Like the rapper's just kind of doing his own hooks, and it's more of a spoken word thing, not really trying to sing.
Yes.
But then there's other spots where it's just blaringly obvious. It would have been better if he just had a vocalist on there to do the hook or do the chorus.
Yeah.
Would have been a bit cleaner. And there are parts on there like that. Like Lion Babe comes on for a track that's called Up, Up, and Away, which I think we might need to talk about the recycling of title tracks.
Are you tired of hearing about how somebody wants to fly?
Well, I just feel like maybe we need to police the titles of things a little bit more.
Sure.
They're going to just use the same song name.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But in general, what I really love is the verses are strong. They're not, mind-blowing, but I think that's more of the fact that Bishop Naru is still young and he's developing still, kind of getting more of a perspective on things. But as far as the production, you know what to expect from MF Doom.
Dude, the Doom production, and it's also Kaytranada as well.
Oh,
it's fucking incredible. Like if for anything you listen to this album, just listen for the beats, man.
Yes.
Like It's super, super good. Yeah, I'm with you. Like and I felt the same way about his collaborative project with Doom, which was like his first album, I think. He just doesn't really stand out a whole lot. He's not super impressive. But it's super ear pleasing and it's really smooth. And it's just good stuff to just put on in the background, if anything. Definitely with you on Driftin'. Driftin's really, really good.
Yeah, so for my top picks were Driftin', Roller Coasting, and Potassium. Those were, to me, the strongest tracks. There was a little bit of a lull for me toward the center.
Yeah.
There's a song called The Game of Life and Get Away. Those were what I was describing earlier, just places where the verses were solid enough, but if he would just have somebody else do the hook, it would be better.
Yeah. Agreed. Definitely agreed. Any related artists?
Obviously, MF Doom.
Yeah.
I have to agree with you on Domo Genesis. Makes a lot of sense. I'm not as familiar with Michael Christmas.
He's kind of got that like 90s like jazz rap kind of production and verses. Very smooth, not super special in any way, but definitely good stuff to just listen to. So
yeah, if anyone's unfamiliar with MF Doom and you know why I keep harping on the production, that's basically it. He uses a lot of great older jazz and funk albums from like 70s era, and it works perfectly in this sort of thing when he cuts it up.
yeah, he's fucking awesome. And I hope he comes back soon for sure.
But yeah, definitely check out Act 1 and 2, or Elevators Act 1 and 2, I should say.
Please do. This next one, I almost made it my album of the week. I felt weird about making an EP my album of the week.
No shame.
So
Shouldn't feel bad about this one.
yeah, maybe we can do it in the future. But the EP is Midland EP. Band is called Michigander, whatever. Michigan, DER.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, there you go. Michigander. Anyway, this is excellent. I really liked it a lot. This is one of my most anticipated releases for this year because I've been like jamming out to his single 90s for probably a year and a half, almost 2 years now.
Wow.
I'd heard about it. I don't remember. I found it on some indie board or something like that, or maybe Pitchfork or something. And I downloaded it, and it's been on like every playlist. I fucking love that song.
Is that the one that I heard at your New Year's party?
Yes.
That just stood out out
Yes.
of listening to hundreds of songs that night. I heard
Yeah,
that,
you're
and
like,
I
"What's
came
that
over to you, and I was
song?"
like, "What's this song? I need to know what the song is."
Yeah, it's really, really good. But it's good. I thought he was going to be way more like kind of poppier sheen emo, like 90s is. But this
really
album,
poppy.
this
It's
album is
very-
super poppy.
It was way more
very,
pop than I
very
thought.
poppy.
Yeah.
A lot of synths on this thing. I'm super impressed with the production.
Yes.
This sounds like a multi-million-dollar album. It sounds really, really good, and I think he fits it really well. And he funded it using a GoFundMe.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like he doesn't have a record label or anything.
Really?
Like is going out on his first tour. I bought tickets to see him at Songbird, which is like
Nice.
a tiny coffee house in
Yeah.
DC. So he is on his way up. I think he's also a next big thing, a very big rising artist. But this album is great. I thought it was really, really catchy. A lot of good synths all over the thing. His vocals are really, really good. It's mixed really well. There's even like this really cool, like goosebump inducing buildup on the closer track called East Chicago, Indiana. And definitely check out Alice. There's a really cool key line on there. And then the opener 5 a.m. is also really good. It's just excellent stuff. It's a really good album. Related artists, Julian Baker, if you're a fan. I definitely getting some national vibes, at least instrumentally. Yeah. He's got a lower voice. It's not, Matt Berninger low. So that, and then the production reminds me a lot of Foals, like very, very arena rock.
Yeah.
Very big sounding. So definitely check it out if you're into any of those things.
Did you sense any Andy Hull kind of tendencies in certain moments, or am I just insane?
Yeah, no, I can see
it's
that.
very poppy.
I
So
can
it's
see
hard to
that
say
for sure.
but
Yeah.
You mean like vocally?
yes.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's got like a higher pitched.
It's got a really smooth. kind of,
Yeah. It's a very even keel voice. It's super pleasing. I could see this playing on the radio So iHeartRadio, you're looking to make money. Just cash in on this guy. He's the next big thing. I'll take a check made out to Jordan Kaufman.
Yeah, can you imagine what he would do with a studio budget?
Dude.
It just sounds so
right.
polished.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's this honestly, that's why I was so conflicted, because this EP feels like an album. Like it's like 6 or 7 songs. So it very much could be an album. But anywho, moving into album of the week, your most anticipated moment.
Oh, yes.
I know everyone's been waiting for it. I've been waiting
yes.
for it, especially considering our picks this week. I liked everybody's picks quite a bit. But let's start with Mr. Billy.
So I've been waiting for this album for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
For a long time. And I'm an idiot because I talked about them last week, but I'm going to talk about them again. Band is Casey. Album Where I Go When I'm Sleeping. It freaking met all my expectations.
It did.
And more.
Exceeded mine, really,
Yeah,
because I didn't really have many
Oh,
going into it.
I had very
but,
high
yeah.
expectations, and it freaking just, it's so good. Really solid balance between really soft, raw emotional stuff and really hard, heavy emotional
Yes.
stuff. Really good balance. Starts out soft, goes pretty heavy for a few tracks, goes back into heavy but clean vocals, and then ends really, really strong. Lyrically, it's just like gut wrenching.
Yeah, God, yes.
Paul said he listened to it this morning, and I said, "Way
Why?
to start off your Saturday morning."
Oh yeah, I was
Why?
thinking, okay, need to do a little more research before today. Let me start my day off with one of Billy's
Some
picks.
beautiful Casey.
And the very first song, oh God, Making Weight, it was just this gut punch.
Yeah, that's fucking.
Just this quiet moment
Yeah,
before.
you ready to feel good today, buddy? No.
What else do you expect from me?
Yeah, exactly.
If it's not tearing you apart, then it's not.
It's not good music. Yeah.
Because I don't want to step over your description. It's just for people that aren't familiar with this guy's writing style. Man, it's so honest.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's not that he's covering subject matters that haven't been covered in that genre before, but man, I can't think of anyone that writes that honestly and pulls it off.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely getting some Pianos Become the Teeth vibes on here.
Yeah.
Both lyrically and instrumentally, for sure.
So, kind of when me and my buddy were listening to it for the first time, we were kind of like,
Are you cheating on us?
no, maybe. We were actually listening to it on the way to see the Midnight in Brooklyn.
Oh, nice.
So much music over the last 2 weeks. And we came up with, this sounds a lot like if Daughter
Okay.
was to have a baby with Under Oath, like Define the Gray Line era.
Okay. Yeah, I
Like,
could definitely see that.
The really like ambient experimental guitar work meets like really melodic, heavy hardcore stuff.
Yes.
Really weird baby.
No, I
but
agree. No,
it's-
I completely agree.
It's
Yeah.
works so well for them.
And the wet ambient guitar signal, it's always there,
Yeah.
and it works perfectly.
Yeah.
I would kill to see them live and to see how they replicate it
Oh,
live.
I was just thinking about that
Because-
after seeing all the shows that we've seen. I
Yeah.
was like thinking about our album of the week, and I was like, I would kind of love to see how they sound live.
Dude, I can imagine
because they're
it's
so.
really good.
It sounds like they recorded in a cave.
Right,
Like
yeah.
it's so expansive
Yes.
and like very post rock and epic, but like it sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to the second track, Wavering, and all I could think is, I know Billy's all over this.
Oh,
The drum production.
Dude, right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where we got really like Define the Great Line, like Under Oath
Yes.
vibes. Was that it does have a very like drum driven.
Sometimes I do want to reach out to the bassist, just make sure they know we hear you. It's gonna be okay.
Right. It,
Turn it up just a
I mean,
little
they
bit.
have and they have tracks. There's 2 tracks on the album, I believe, that are just guitar work, and they're like
Yeah.
just that experimental, wet, ambient guitar, and they're only a minute and a half, 2 minutes long, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they more transitional pieces, but it's just so good.
I like a lot of the decisions. Like, I'm trying to think of what track it was later on the album, but I mean, they'll put guitars just hard right, and
Yes.
then nothing on the left side, and then all of a sudden the stick work. It's
Exactly.
Oh,
Like,
it's so crisp.
would you say like Bruise?
Dude,
That we talked about
Bruise-
last
Bruise
week
is the single we
pretty
talked
extensively,
about.
but it still fucking rips.
Yeah,
It's still really, really
yeah,
good.
and that's one of the slower ones on the album. The last song, "Wound," is really good. The second song, like you said, "Wavering," so good.
I like Making Weight a lot. I think
Yeah.
it's a good opener.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a solid opener.
It-
I was stoked that they started with something softer.
I know you and I talked about it a little bit yesterday. For me, just the clean vocals on like specifically like fluorescence through needlework.
Yeah.
Like really dips for me, and I'm not sure why, because I like them on other tracks.
Yeah.
But I think it's maybe the balance just helps me like the clean vocals more.
I was very surprised that they went, because those are heavier songs.
Yeah.
With only clean vocals.
Yes.
Where heavy vocals would have fit. I don't know if it's because they didn't want to be samey and they wanted to add a little variety or what,
Yeah.
but I can see that being one
and
complaint.
he does seem to write for the song, like whatever it is he's trying to communicate, because in all honesty, his screaming voice is really, really solid. Doesn't seem as clean with the clean vocals.
Yeah.
But it definitely works. The production's perfect. They don't really overdo anything in terms of his voice.
Yeah.
They don't add too many effects, just a little bit of, echo. But I just like him when he's screaming.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's so
me too.
I love it.
Yeah, the screams are really good.
And because there was so much of that melodic stuff on this, the moments where it got that heavy were more impactful.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Really
Definitely
good
a lot of
dynamics.
emotion.
Yeah.
in this album for sure.
But yeah.
Related artists? You went over your favorite tracks, right?
Yeah. And like I said, it's really that mix between Daughter and, I wouldn't say they're related artists, but if you really wanted to grasp how they sound, listen to Daughter, listen to that old Underoath sound. Like,
I completely agree.
I know you said Movements.
Yeah,
can see
I like
that.
Movements a lot. I could see that. And then definitely Pianos Become the Teeth.
Yeah.
Particularly Keep You, I think, is
Yeah.
very, very similar. So yeah, check it out. Casey, Where I Go When I'm Sleeping.
Love it.
Very good album. So next up, we have Cocoa Sugar. Cocoa Sugar by Young Fathers. It took me a while to come around on this. I was very, very excited for this. I think I may have overhyped myself initially, but I do love it now. I like it a lot now. I was listening to it before you guys came over. It's weird. It is definitely different. If you're familiar with their older stuff, this feels like their poppiest yet. A lot of weird, catchy hooks on here. A lot of cool lo-fi production. There's some like soaring moments, like when there's a repeating hook after the chorus on Border Girl. It's like, miracle, send another miracle. It's so good. It's really, really good. And then See How, the opener, there's a refrain towards the end where one of the singers is just kind of, it sounds like he's almost crying into the microphone. Like his voice is just so wavery, and it's so emotional and really impactful. I like it a lot. Did you guys listen to it at all? Check it out a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Go for it, Billy.
Yeah?
I don't know if I'm as sold as you are.
Sure. It's weird.
And like you said, yeah, so I only listened to it a couple times, and I'd listened to it before you even made it your album pick, and I was instantly like, probably not my thing.
Sure.
And then I tried to listen to it a few more times. I don't know if I can get behind the vocals.
Sure.
It's just a little, maybe too out there for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not to just,
Yeah. Hey, I'm with you. It's definitely it's not for everyone, for sure. Paul, you and I talked briefly about them before.
Yeah, I was looking at them a
lot,
few weeks
right?
ago. I'm actually really glad you made this your pick, because I heard Toy around that same
Toy's
time.
really good.
I really like it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of allowance for that kind of weird sound, and the hooks are really good.
Yeah. Like like the fucking love the pluckiness and like manic quality of Toy. Like really, really cool. Same like synthy sounds on here. The chorus / bridge on Turn, where he's talking about like don't turn my eyes blue because they're brown, like is really powerful and a really neat song. A lot of cool electronic elements on here. The only thing I wish there were more bangers. Some of their older albums had some like harder hitting songs, and I think that would kind of break up the track list a little bit. But great album, regardless. Favorite tracks on here are Turn, Border Girl, and Toy. And related artists, Shamir, Shabazz Palaces, which is like weird ambient hip hop, but very similar, and then Algiers. So definitely check all those out. Paul, having some regrets?
Not fully. What it
Okay.
is I'm gonna pick this week's Turbo Wolf. They came out with an album called The Free Life, And I don't know. I'm going back and forth a little bit on the vocals. I think, just like I said earlier, I make kind of an allowance when it comes to stuff that has a punk feel in the songwriting structure.
Yeah.
So, that's the weak spot for me. But everything else I'm fully on board for. The guitarist, Andy Gosh, he loves that sub-octave fuzz riffing.
Yeah.
And that's
love
really
his
what
tone. Yeah.
brainwashed
It kind of
me,
makes
brought me
the
in.
album, really. And by makes the album, it's everywhere. Like, it's it's all over.
Yeah.
It's good, though. I like it a lot. I was getting some, like, hair metal vibes a little bit.
Oh, definitely.
Like,
It's like punk, psych rock, metal, electronica.
Yeah.
That that thing that's been really big in bands from the
Yeah.
UK for a while now.
Yes. It's a neat album. I think my only complaint is that I wish there was, like, the last song, Concluder, is actually really different, and I think it breaks up the track list a lot, but it's the last song on the album. So I wish there was more stuff like Concluder to kind of break it up a little bit. It gets a little samey.
Definitely.
Especially because he uses that tone all the time. It's a really cool tone, but I kind of wish he mixed it up just a little bit. But it's a neat album for sure. Any favorite tracks?
I would say Cheap Magic, Black Hole is probably my favorite, and then the Free Life is the title track. It's pretty solid.
Did you? This is weird because the first time I heard it, I didn't even know there were features, and then I went back and like looked at the track list and was like, "There's features on here." It just seemed like kind of wasted. I don't know.
I guess I can see where you're going in a sense with it. I will say they would use them to great effect in certain places.
Sure.
Like you would all of a sudden hear kind of a gospel-y chorus come in that seemed like
right.
Where did that come from? But it worked in the outro of one of those tracks. But yeah, no, I don't really know that much about the band itself.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're from Bristol, England. They've been around since about 2008.
They seem very British.
Yeah.
And album cover is really, really cool as well. I was super excited just because of how the album looked. So,
also a nitpicky thing, the bass production on it really got me.
Like
I
excited?
Like Leanna Lee's tone, I really like, and just where the bass is mixed. I probably sound like a nerd, but that's a huge thing for me in any kind of rock genre.
Sure.
Because the bass always gets kind of lost a little bit.
It's washed in the mix.
Like you'll feel it if you go see them live.
Yeah, right.
Oh, great.
Right.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Any related artists that you could think of?
Nothing really that similar. I can think of if you like Royal Blood, bands like that from England.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
maybe
a good
Wolf
one.
Mother. It's got like kind of a weird dungeon metal vibe.
Yeah.
only
like
in parts.
like the Sword or like something like that. I was getting some Motorhead vibes, like a little bit.
That's fair.
Kind of like power metal almost. And then Eagles of Death Metal, if you're not familiar, very similar kind of garage rock, psych rock ish. So, yeah, it's good shit. Good picks this week, gentlemen. Very good, very good.
Great, we get to keep our jobs.
Yeah, I'll bring in the replacements.
I don't think I can do this anymore.
A Moose Blood or
Yeah, it's a great album. But I don't think I can do
He's reminding you.
I don't think I can do this anymore, Billy. For being honest. If you're curious about the singles and albums we talked about this week, I'll be putting up a playlist on the site, bliss.house, containing all the singles and the best tracks from the week's albums that we picked.
How do you spell that? I'm poor at spelling.
It is Bliss, BLISS, period, dot, sometimes colloquially
Wait,
referred
you
to
just
as-
How
said
many
two.
periods and
Oh,
dots?
shit.
Oh, Jesus.
This is what I was worried about.
Tell the kids. It's bliss.haus.
Bliss.haus, like the German house. And let's thank everybody for listening. Like, share, subscribe, smash that like button. I had a lot of fun. It's really good.
Yeah, a lot of
check
good
us out
music.
on iTunes. Leave us a good review, but only good reviews. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter at BlissPointPod. You can check us out on YouTube. Just look for Bliss Point Podcast on YouTube. We're also on Stitcher or your favorite podcast app. And just one last reminder, visit Bliss.house. There's a lot of good stuff up there. We're putting up a lot of cool playlists. And yeah, that's it. Okay, bye.